So you've hit mid-January and that initial surge of New Year's motivation has worn off. It's still dark, it's still cold and it's still raining, and all of a sudden you're not as motivated as you actually were on January the 2nd. If you're listening to this thinking, why am I already struggling? It's only January. Then I want you to know you're exactly where most people are right now. In this episode of Body Beyond the Scales, we're going to be running through exactly what's going on, why your motivation has dipped and what to do to get it back. So welcome back to Body Beyond the Scales, the podcast that helps you get stronger and more confident in your body through building better habits. If we've not met before, hi, I'm Holly and I help people lose weight and keep it off through building better habits. So if you like the sound of that, then make sure you drop the show a follow or a subscribe. And if you've listened to it before and you've not already dropped the show or follow or subscribe, girly pop, what are you doing? Go on, hit that button. Right, let's get into it and talk about why that motivation drops. The first thing I want to say is your motivation drop in mid-January is pretty normal. Everything feels fresh in the new year. You get a new start and it's all hunky-dory and we're all feeling excited. There's a lot of novelty. So motivation at that point is high and that makes sense. I actually really like this time of year. I love the new year feel. I love the idea of like a fresh start. Even if my journey is continuing, it still feels like there's a little bit more of a positive energy. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that everyone's kind of aligned into the same goals. Like everybody's kind of excited about their New Year's goals. Everyone's heading in the same direction. So there's a little bit more, I guess, congruency amongst everybody else that actually we're working on this together. And that doesn't really happen at any other time of the year. So I like using January to get ahead and start a sprint off. Now I want to clarify that the surge of you losing that motivation that you have on January the 2nd is a completely normal part of the process. And the fact that you've had that loss doesn't mean that you are weak. It doesn't mean that you lack willpower. It means that you're human. And once you're continuing a journey rather than starting one, that motivation will start to dip off because there's not any novelty there. And you start to realize what you kind of like have set out on. You start to realize the journey that you're about to, go on. Now at this point when the motivation starts to drop, that's usually when we start to hear people say it's discipline over motivation, which is one of my least favourite quotes. So let's clear up what's actually going on. First off, you need motivation to act. You don't act without motivation. You need a drive to do something, otherwise your brain will not make you do it. What people often say is, oh, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. And the way that I like to think of it is not that you're not motivated to go to the gym, because you probably still have those overarching goals in which the gym is useful. However, you are more motivated to sit on the sofa and go elbow deep in Doritos. The question is where is the majority of your motivation sat, rather than you not having motivation. The lack of motivation is not a thing. We don't act without lack of motivation. It's just that the motivation is in the wrong place. So if you want to be more motivated to do the things that are actually beneficial for you, then you've got to ask the question, not how can I get more disciplined, but how can I make sure that my motivation is in the right place? Which leads me on to a nice framework that I use whenever I'm feeling, well, not motivated. So motivation tends to be highest when it is goals aligned, value aligned, when it feels like it is easy, or rather you feel competent at it, and it's something that's enjoyable. If you can have those four things, you will feel motivated. And if you don't feel motivated, chances are one of those four things or more of those four things are off. Are off is off. Whatever the grammar is there. When January starts, those four things are usually ticked by default. For the most part, they do tend to be covered. Our actions tend to be goal aligned because, well, we've set out this overarching goal probably for the next year. It tends to be value aligned and we can identify with the kind of person who does these things and we want to be that person. It tends to be enjoyable because it is new and it is something our brain feels like it's learning. And we tend to feel capable because, quite frankly, we don't know what we don't know. So the journey, it just can't be as daunting when we don't know what we don't know. Let me talk through an example to make that all feel less theoretical. So let's say that in 2026 you want to lose weight and get healthier. One of those healthy behaviours might be that you start going to the gym. So the goal of going to the gym is goal aligned and therefore it is motivating. It is motivating because it is aligned with that higher overarching goal of being a healthier person, and also you want to be someone who goes to the gym. It's also values aligned because it's something that you want to do. You want to be the kind of person that can go to the gym, that goes to the gym regularly. It can feel easy at the start because it's new and exciting and the idea of going to the gym is quite novel. And you feel capable and competent because, quite frankly, you've not really given it a go yet and you don't know what you don't know. But as the weeks go on, you start to feel a little bit more tired from work. We've not just gone from a bout of annual leave. We're also feeling like our world's getting a little bit more busy and chaotic again. Social lives are starting to pick up again, and there's just a little bit more going on. You also might not be seeing as much progress as what you had predicted or expected in your head, and that can be a little bit demotivating because all of a sudden you're not feeling like you're moving towards your goal, and therefore you are not feeling like you are capable, and it's not actually feeling that enjoyable anymore because you don't know what you're doing. And, well, you haven't figured it out in the first 14 days of the year. So motivation at this point starts to feel cloudier, and it doesn't feel as easy to pursue that goal because, well, it doesn't have those 4 things. And therefore you end up more motivated to end up elbow deep on the sofa eating Doritos. So it's not a case of there's no motivation there, it's just that you're not really breeding the environment for you to feel motivated to work towards the thing that you do want to do. Because the thing that you don't necessarily want to do, let's go back to that sofa and Dorito situation, well, that actually feels easy. Kind of feels values aligned because you want to feel easy, you don't want to do the difficult thing right now. It kind of feels goal aligned because you want to stay comfortable and you're getting that short-term dopamine hit. And it's definitely something that you are capable of because, well, everyone is capable of it. So actually that motivation framework is working against you in that situation because that situation feels more appealing than what our situation and the habits that we want to work towards does. Now let's talk about the chemistry of what's actually going on in your brain. And don't worry, I'll keep this simple so that you're not lost in like big words. First off, we just need to understand that dopamine is the chemical mainly responsible for motivation. The key things that it does is it gets you to work towards a reward. It likes receiving an award, but more than that, it enjoys anticipating receiving an award. Your brain likes knowing there's something good coming if I do this. Now, when you're mid-Jan and that initial surge has fallen off, and we're also realising how far we've got to go to reach your goals, that reward feels miles away and the anticipation is, well, really, really low because it feels too far of a stretch. So your brain is going to be more motivated, you're going to get more dopamine from doing something that's quick and easy and just simple to do. Again, sitting on the sofa, eating those Doritos, much easier than it is to go to the gym when it's cold, dark and wet outside. So your brain is going, I want that dopamine from doing this. It's anticipating that the reward of sitting on the sofa is significantly easier to get than that overarching weight loss goal, that goal where you're pushing to become this person who is healthy. Your brain likes easy. So what do we do about it? Now, this is going to be the most important part of this episode because this is where we have those actionable steps where you're actually going to make change. Now, when motivation drops, most people try to just be stricter on themselves. They say, nope, I need more discipline, and they try to make more rules and just become more rigid. That usually backfires, so instead I want you to do these 3 things. Thing number 1 is we're going to set realistic goals and habits and have next best thing options. Let's say a realistic goal for you might be to go to the gym 3 times per week and do a 1-hour session at the gym. Let's make sure that's a small change based on what you're currently doing. So you were going to the gym twice a year last year, 1 extra session, not that crazy. It's good to pre-plan out your next best thing options for when you can't do what's perfect. So let's say you can't make it to the gym that week. It might be that you aim for the next best thing is doing 2 gym sessions. It might be doing 2 1-hour gym sessions and a 30-minute gym session. It might be doing 2 1-hour sessions and a 20-minute session. It might just be doing 3 30-minute sessions across the week. It's having those options and that flexibility in there for when times get tougher and you need to be more flexible. And that's something where, if you've not heard me talk about resilience before, that's where resilience is important. There's a whole episode on resilience and what you can do to improve it. I'll link that in the show notes, or I'll pop that up here if you're watching this back on YouTube. But what the key thing is that you feel like you have that flexibility and you have those other options that you can do. If you can plan these out ahead of time, your brain will like you a lot more because it's a lot harder to think of the things that you need to think about when you are in the moment, you are stressed and you are already in this state of, I don't know what to do. Those backup options just mean that you've got something to do instead of nothing to do. And rather than it being a spectrum rather than it just being all or nothing, it becomes a spectrum. So it becomes, we've got all, then we've got our next best thing, next best thing, next best thing, next best thing, and then we've got our nothing option. We've got so many options between all and nothing that actually it's very rare that you end up just not going to the gym. You do something instead of nothing. The second thing that I want you to do is move your idea of where the rewards are coming from and find rewards in action. I want you to start finding ways to make things enjoyable. Even if that is your gym session, how can we make that more enjoyable than, you not finding it enjoyable at all? Start to talk yourself through it. I really enjoyed that gym session because I felt really strong. I really enjoyed feeding myself a nutritious meal because it's made me feel like I have a lot of energy. I really enjoyed lifting heavier than I ever did before. Repeating these things over and over and identifying them makes your brain feel better about doing it, but also it trains your brain to get better at identifying other things that that it enjoys. So the more that you tell yourself and the more that you practice seeing enjoyment and finding enjoyment, the more you will enjoy things. If you're struggling to do this and need this to be a little bit more tangible, every time you complete a gym session, just make a little note in your notes app and say what's one thing that you enjoyed about it. Did you feel strong? Did you hit a PB? Did you just feel like you could lift really heavy? Did you just feel for the first time like you knew what you were doing in the gym? Write down what felt good about that session. And doing that, you'll start to collect all this evidence, whether it be for your brain or whether it be for like just you in that day to day. Like it will start to collect all that evidence that it is something that you enjoy, and actually you do get enjoyment from the gym. I also want you to embrace the box ticking element of these kind of things. You will get that little dopamine hit from saying I've ticked off that session this week. So whether you need a star chart on the fridge where you stick a star on every time you hit the gym, whether you need a total workout goal for the year where you get a little dopamine hit from going, I'm another workout down. I do this for the last 2 years and this year as well. I've been aiming for 200 workouts across the year. I've hit that 2 years in a row now, which is really, really cool because I can say I've done over 400 workouts across the course of the last 2 years. But the thing that's really, really cool about that is I actually get a little dopamine hit every time I get to write it in my notes app that I've done another workout. I also share a selfie to my Instagram story every single time that I've done it because it gives me that little bit of a boost around it. So if you are feeling like if you are a person that likes box ticking, doing a star chart, doing a tick chart, making a note of how many workouts you have done this year or within a certain period of time is really, really, really useful. Like, use that to your advantage if you are someone who likes doing these things. Outside of the gym, a few examples could be I've tried 5 new recipes this year. I've done X amount of steps this week. Just get things tallied up and feel like you're ticking them off. And finally, I want you to use that January dip as a practice for the rest of the year. This is not the first, nor will it be the last time that you drop in motivation this year. You will have times where you're going on holiday. You will have times just where motivation dips. You will have times where life just happens. You need to have the systems in place to feel like you can get through these dips. So expect the dip, have strategies to deal with the dip. They're the next best things that we were talking about earlier. And if you can find rewards out of what you're doing, and perfect. We were able to navigate that loss of motivation or lack of motivation much, much easier than what you would be if you otherwise didn't have these things in place. So just to summarize that, expect the dip, prepare for the dip, and recognize that there are things that you enjoy about the habits that you are building. Now, if you want more structure in place to build all of these habits, I'm going to be running the consistency games from Monday the 9th of February for 8 weeks. Spaces go live to the priority list on January the 28th, so if you would like early access to one of the spaces, there's 25 spaces available, then you need to be on that priority list. I've popped the link in the show notes. You can access the priority list there. If you are watching this after the 28th, but before the 4th of February, you can still join if there are spaces available. And you can head to my Instagram to find out if there are spaces available. But I will guide you through the habits that you need to build, the foundations that you need to build to lose weight and keep it off in a sustainable way, and put all these next best thing practices into place so that you do feel motivated for more than just January. And you have that backup plan for when that motivation drops. You'll get your workouts sorted, your calories calculated, the habits that you need to focus on, and a community of women that are on exactly the same journey as you, who are trying to lose weight and keep it off and will support you throughout that. Therefore, it will be easier and enjoyable than just doing it by yourself. Spaces go live on Wednesday the 28th of January at 10 a.m. to the priority list, so make sure you're on the priority list if you want first dibs on one of those spaces. And regardless of whether you want to join the consistency games, I hope you are now feeling way more motivated to hit the rest of this year, and you now feel more equipped to deal with those dips. Have a great rest of day, and I will catch you in the next one.